Hello, EKN Nation. Welcome to a new edition of This Week in Karting. It is episode number 94, March the 3rd, 2026. My name is Rob Howden, as always, joined by David Cole as we take the opportunity to give you all the news that has hit the EKN homepage over the last couple of weeks. Hopefully, you're listening to this podcast on the way to work, on the way home from work, whatever it may be. Maybe you're working on the cart, out in the garage, whatever it is. Good opportunity to get kind of caught up on everything that's going on in karting right now. Today's show presented by the Champions of the Future America Series. The karting championship that's taken Europe by storm and helped launch many of today's top open wheel stars is now in the United States. Introducing the Champions of the Future America Series. The 9-round championship spans January to September and competes at two premier Southwest facilities in California and Nevada, featuring a prize package of over $130,000. Visit championskartingamerica.com to learn more about the Champions of the Future America Series. All right, David Cole, lots of work to get done here. We're a few weeks since our last show back in January, episode 93. First and foremost, the biggest news kind of dropping most recently. You actually wrote a column about it as well. Superkarts USA announcing the removal of pushback bumpers for 3 of their SCUSA Pro Tour classes. That was big news. Hit the EKN homepage.
Certainly, it's a move that they haven't done since 2022, where they implemented that change for one race weekend at the SCUSA Winter Series. It quickly went away the next month. It's essentially looking at their PR, kind of a way to remove the wasted time for competitors and officials that review all these pushback bumper penalties that essentially result in no penalties at all, because again, it's either bottleneck racing or something at the start. Again, it's just wasted time and effort. And so to that, I agree with. I completely agree with this move. I love the idea of getting away from that pushback bumper program, especially for the pro categories. Obviously for shifter categories, pro shifter and pro master shifter, we don't have the pushback bumper. Obviously you get guys that miss a gear or this or that. Then you get and again, what this boils down to, and I mentioned that in my behind the laptop column, it's the only thing it's doing is keeping the starts safer. And that's really the only thing it's done since it was implemented back in 2017 with USPKS and then Superkarts USA in 2018 going into the Spring Nationals. So they even ran a Winter Nationals where it was just chaos and terrible starts, zero respect by drivers, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's quite a scenario to do it. Obviously, X30 Junior, in my opinion, is going to be the one category that could go either way. It could be the drivers will be respectful and show the way, or it could be the opposite, and we could get what we saw back in 2018 and have seen in previous years with just drivers not caring at the start and plowing from 30th to first in the first corner.
I remember being at NOLA and watching those guys come down the straightaway into the opening corner and literally just fly in there and just try to bounce their way off of drivers and hopefully get through on the other side. So indeed, so much time, David, as you said, taken reviewing all these pushback bumpers. They come in with your video. The officials have to look at the video. Yeah, I got to push back, but it's because of this happened. Okay, we'll turn it over. Just so much work done. As I've discussed before, David, in Europe, there's no reviewing it, right? You got it. So if you're going to have the pushback, you might as well just say, hey, listen, bad luck on you to get a pushback. That way there's not so much time in race direction.
And that's my solution is you either don't have pushbacks or it's a penalty no matter what.
Yep.
Because that's how we first started this whole situation. And then parents threw up a fit. Oh, my kid didn't do anything. Why is he getting a penalty? Blah, blah, blah. And promoters and officials, they bent over backwards, and they've now created this platform where, it's spending a obscene amount of time reviewing video because you got to watch the entire race and see when the pushback was actually engaged and all this. It's wasted time, wasted effort for the officials. It's even wasting time for competitors. In all honesty,
I was just going to say the mechanic or the coach is in there, the parents are in there. It's you're spending so much time.
It's ridiculous. And again, there's no perfect solution. It's either this way or that way. We either run it or we don't run it. And I think if we run it, we just need to go back to assessing a 5-second penalty, no matter the situation. It alleviates track officials and promoters with again, all this wasted time of reviewing stuff. And again, it puts back the responsibility on the driver, because again, doing these pushback bumper penalties and overturning them takes away the responsibility, because then they can go, oh, I can just slam into a guy whenever I feel like it, because I can protest it.
What does this mean now? It means that that race control is going to have to step up, right? Because they're going to have to find these issues. If guys are hammering guys, they're going to have some more calls. So I would not be surprised to see some more calls in terms of rough driving or contact calls, right?
Are we not already doing that? I mean, as it is, that's the problem I really do have. And again, this show can go on forever.
We could talk about forever about this. Yes.
You look at Europe, and there's no penalties ever called whatsoever. Very minimal, maybe 1 or 2 in a race, if that. You're lucky. To where, we look at the SCUSA Winter Series, they had probably 6, 7, 8 in just the main event for KA Senior, not to mention all the other categories, and then calling cut track and all this other stuff. Penalties are getting called. Are they going to call 100% of the penalties? No, that's never going to happen.
That's right.
Strikes in baseball are not called 100% of the time. Fouls in basketball are not called 100% of the time. We have to get over this mentality of, well, this wasn't called. It's just this terrible. I'm walking away. No, stop being ridiculous with your ways and thinking that everything's going to be 100%. It's not.
So
and there's enough penalties getting called. For me, it's calling the penalties at the start is very difficult, and that's what obviously in my column, one push forward, because again, we're pushing forward away from the pushback bumpers. Hopefully, they're going to have to start calling start penalties, and I think that's something that we typically do not see. So I think yes, there in that scenario, they're going to definitely have to use, obviously for Supercards USA, they're going to have to use their camera system. They're going to have to get a couple more eyes in the opening corner.
Yep.
We're looking at Tucson. That's going to be the first ever event, or first event of the year without pushback bumpers for these 3 categories. So turn 1, very wide open. That kind of helps in that scenario because there's escape room. But again, you don't need it because there's no pushback. So you're not trying to avoid getting a pushback. So I think you're going to get some bottleneck.
Yep.
Yeah. Guys getting together. You're going to see that, but there's obviously going to be difference of, is that a penalty or is that just start chaos? And that's
it remains to be seen, David. We're going to see if we get chaos on the racetrack. We definitely had chaos on social media. There was a lot of people jumping onto the post about announcing the removal of the pushback. David, we saw a lot of wild takes from people that maybe didn't want pushback anymore, but now they want it back. It's you can't please anybody, can you?
Well, yeah, think about it when this was instituted, right? And again, this all boils around plastic bumpers, and so you get the old school mentality of we don't need pushback bumpers, blah, blah, blah. That was kind of the synopsis of when this all started, other than the start. Now we're removing it, and people are like, well, this is going to cause chaos. Well, which do you want? Do you want no pushback bumper, or do you want pushback bumper? You can't have it's one or the other. You can't want clean starts but then bitch about not having pushback bumpers because you don't want the pushback bumpers.
And David, you and I talked about this when it was first getting ugly, and they were talking about pushbacks. It's still the responsibility of the driver when guys are wrecking and people are driving in there. It's all, listen, little Jimmy, it was your fault. Big Jim in the pro classes, it's your fault. You're the guy driving the cart. If you're going to drive like an idiot, you're going to get a penalty, right? So I hope to see big penalties. If some guy just rams in there in the opening corner and hammers somebody, park him for the rest of the day, or do whatever you want to do to make it hurt so they don't do it again.
Yeah. Right? So that remains to be seen. Again, I think outside the opening corners, I think it's going to be as usual. Yeah. I think the positive side, and again, this is the way I look at it, for the pro category, we're going to see some bump and runs. We're going to see guys getting a little bit more physical because they don't have to worry about a pushback bumper.
Yeah,
We've seen it in Pro Shifter where guys are doing the bump and run. They're getting a little more aggressive. And I think that's going to amp up the racing a little bit more. And as we saw in the SKUSA Winter Series, it was already close up front with a lot of the front runners right there mixing it up lap after lap, side contact and side contact here and there. I think this is going to amp it up even more. So, but for the pro category, I think it's a positive. I think long-term wise, we should have done this a long time ago for Pro X30.
I agree.
I don't know why we haven't, but again, it just takes somebody the forthright to do it. And in Supercards USA, I think they've just finally had enough with dealing with all the pushback bumper penalties, because again, multiple, like you're looking at a field of 40, there's probably a good 25% drivers with a pushback bumper. So it's part of race. It's part of the karting. I get that. And again, it's kind of establishing the United States as a kind of standalone again, because we really are, there's not that drive to be like European racing here in the US, especially because we're all spec programs. We're not open engines and doing all that, aside from the KZ platform, obviously. But yeah, let's gear away from that, because I don't see unless insurance companies start mandating it, I don't see that anti-launch system happening here anytime soon.
I don't either. Here's one thing I wanted to do. The big thing nowadays with drivers in karting is, I was blocking here. Like, we don't even call it defending anymore. Oh yeah, I just didn't block them enough. Well, guess what? With no pushback bumper, if you get blocked, better tense up going to the corner, because you're going to get sent. Like, if you're on full on head spinning, blocking a guy in front of you, he's going to move you. And he's not going to have to worry about a pushback anymore.
Yeah, so, and again, it's the bump and runs. Like, that's what we're talking. We're not talking about blasting a guy off into the grass.
No, I actually am. I actually am, because bump and run's one thing, right? If you're you'll move in the end to try to slip away by. I mean, if I got the amount of ridiculous blocking we see nowadays, head turning all the way down the straightaway, you're going to get sent. And I don't mean like you're not lifting and hammering the guy, but I mean, you're going to go to the outside, way to the outside of the racetrack. So you're going to lose 4 or 5 spots. Yeah. I hate the blocking nowadays. Like, if you defend correctly, maybe it's because of the work I do in USF that, drivers are allowed one move. You can move, but not in reaction to the other driver. You come onto the straightaway, you get one move, not this head over the shoulder all the time. God, it drives me nuts. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, if you look in Europe, I mean, some of the Americans that are going over there, they do it. That's exactly what they did. Yeah. And we're actually seeing one driver, Win Godshock, who went over and raced at the Champions of the Future Academy program this past weekend, got disqualified for essentially brake checking twice in one lap. And so how do you call that? Like, I mean, if the leader has control of the race, right? But again, it's partial driver and partial officials. So there's that mending of both in terms of that reality. But removing the pushback bumper, like you said, it eliminates that whole defensive driving, because if you do defend or block, you're going to get repercussions from the driver behind you. 100%. He's going to give you a little assist going into that going into that corner, and hopefully move you out of the way. And
I've always said, hey, if I'm defending hardcore to the inside, I'm ready for the tap. Right? Like, I'm ready to get moved.
That's something these drivers are going to. I think again, Pro X30 guys, they understand it. They know how to do it. I mean, they can even do it with a pushback bumper. The more skilled ones, right?
100%.
They understand the physics of what needs to engage that pushback, so they know exactly the type of pressure they need to engage with in doing that. So, but for the kids, obviously, it's going to be a little different. Master, I mean, we don't need the old guys worrying about it. Just go out and race. If you screw up a corner, and you're not going to get, if a guy in front of you screws up a corner, you're not going to get a pushback now. So you don't have to worry about that. And
sure enough.
Yeah, you're still going to see some guys making some moves, but they were doing that with the pushback no matter what. So it's really more the the junior drivers in X30 that are kind of going to be the focal point, I think, in Musselman Honda for the opening round of the Pro Tour.
So there you have it, folks. We're underway with this edition of This Week in Karting, our news update podcast. Today brought to you by Champions of the Future Americas Series. After this break, we'll come back, talk Challenge of the Americas, talk a little bit more about the FIA karting program as they have released their impact data recorder. We'll talk about that after this break. Be part of the premier regional kart racing series in the Lone Star State. Take part in the 2026 Texas Sprint Racing Series with their 5-race schedule that travels all over Texas and Louisiana. The season begins in March at the Speed Sports Racing Park in New Caney, Texas, before traveling east to the Nolan Motorsports Park in New Orleans at the beginning of May. The newly renamed Amarillo Motorsports Park in Panhandle, Texas will host the middle stop of the season in June. Trips to Kart Moto and Speed Sports complete our calendar, and we're excited to welcome all of our racers back to the track. The Texas Sprint Racing Series will make its 3rd trip to the Kart Moto facility in Crescent, Texas at the end of August, after a month off in July, before drivers and teams will contest the series finale in late September, returning to Speed Sports Racing Park in Houston. Don't miss any of the action. Details on the rules and class structure, which includes the new Tillotson T4 senior category, can be found at TexasSprintSeries.com, along with a list of the full championship prize package for the official SuperKarts USA and International Kart Federation Series. The Texas Sprint Racing Series will be one of the biggest programs in the U.S. in 2026. Make sure you're there.
Welcome to AIM Sports and the groundbreaking Micron 6 karting data logger. Since its inception, AIM Sports has been at the forefront of motorsport technology, revolutionizing how racers gather data. From its early days, AIM has tailored its innovations to provide precise insights, allowing racers to fine-tune their strategies and push their limits. Fast forward to today, and we're excited to celebrate 30 years of Micron by introducing the latest evolution in karting data loggers, the Micron 6. Designed with cutting-edge features, including 25Hz GPS with mil-spec precision, a 6-axis inertial platform, shift lights and alarms, temperature inputs, and a host of wired and wireless expansions. With 2 CAN buses, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi, it's perfect for karting enthusiasts looking to enhance their game on the track. With its advanced suite of sensors, high-speed data acquisition, and easy-to-use interface, the Micron 6 delivers unparalleled performance on track. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, this powerful tool helps you analyze every turn, every lap, even every heartbeat. Imagine a tool that not only records your lap times, but also analyzes parameters like speed, tire temperature, driver inputs, and engine performance. With the Micron 6, you'll gain insights that can shave seconds off your times and elevate your skills behind the wheel. Don't just drive, be data-driven. Join the AIM Sports community today and equip yourself with the Micron 6 to take your karting experience to the next level. Visit aimsports.com to learn more. AIM Sports, 30 years of Micron.
Back at it, episode 94 of This Week in Karting, bringing you all the news that made its way to the EKN homepage over the last couple of weeks. And put it in a nice podcast form for you on the way to work, home from work, whatever commute, get a chance to get up to speed. David, Challenge of the Americas, you and I were actually out there for the opening round at K1, 68 entries. So it's kind of, it's a weird time right now for the Challenge of the Americas. Let's put it that way. Andy Saisman has set an entry of 60 at a certain date for the next event for PKRA. Essentially, David, 60 entries minimum by March 14th with a $500 deposit, or Andy Saisman said he's going to cancel the event. Very likely the remainder of the series this year.
Yeah, that's essentially what we gotten from the statement. They had a meeting. He had a meeting with some of the team owners and competitors there at K1 circuit. Obviously, with only 68 drivers at K1 over 8 classes, it was not a positive weekend. We did see good racing on the racetrack all weekend long, so that was the positive.
And a solid number in 100cc senior. Let's be real. 26.
Yeah, and a good junior field as well, and again, great racing up front in all categories. It wasn't like we saw boring racing in at least in the main event. So so 68 entries at K1 definitely was not what was hoped. Obviously, Southern California is going through a change. It's kind of indicative to Southern California or California in general, where what was it, in 2000? When did Cal Speed close? I'm trying to think. Was it right before COVID or after COVID? I think.
I can't remember.
Yeah, just after COVID, and so things changed when Cal Speed closed for Southern California.
That's for sure. Yep.
And LAKC went away, and then Tri-C came up and was like, hey, we're gonna carry the torch for karting here in the region, at least for club racing. You still had Pro Kart Challenge, which essentially has been on decline until recently, where numbers are starting to pick back up over the last couple of years. So it's, again, no different than the sport as a whole. It's cyclical. You see different things happening, and of course, trying to go to K1 with the challenge, you're expecting, we should probably hit anywhere between 100 and 120 entries, and to come away with only 68 was certainly a negative, and not exactly what Andy Seisman was hoping for. It's not as worse as it was in Utah, where it was 67 entries last year for the series finale. So, but again, to have two back-to-back weekends like that, not exactly the best for a promoter or a championship. So yeah, Andy's trying to keep it going, and make, basically, again, there's that online chatter of, yeah, we'll be there. And then until that buck comes through, you can't count it. So they're trying to make sure they get, the at least minimum amount of entries in order for an event to happen at, Phoenix Kart Racing Association there in Glendale, Arizona. April 17th through the 19th is to try and get 60 entries, basically by next Saturday.
March 14th, $500 deposit. If the event gets canceled, you get the $500 back. But if you're planning on going and want to keep this thing going, make sure you get over there to the website and get signed up. It's a tough thing, David. Right now, there's such a kind of a shift over the last number of years. All these major series on the East Coast, the West Coast really doesn't have a major series right now. Andy's been there with the Challenge of the Americas. That's been that traveling series for people. Obviously, we know there's a Pro Kart Challenge, but that's essentially just California. Andy's program, California, Arizona, Utah this year was going to go, or is going to go, we'll see how it plays out, was going to go to Colorado. It's been able drawing Canadians down for many years, not many coming down for this particular event at K1, but it's been that West Coast program. It's been that West Coast program for drivers on the West Coast to do a traveling program. If the challenge goes away, West Coast, you've got the Northwest Karting Series, the championship up there, up the Pacific Northwest. Otherwise, that's it. You've got club racing, which is then the Pro Kart Challenge in California. It's tough to see not to have a series that goes up and down the West Coast. Obviously, it's something people like to do because it's massive in the East now.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to have no viable reason for them to complain about not having a place to race in the western half of the country if they don't support the one that's there. And that's essentially what it's boiled down to. You do see some of the teams still trying to get competitors there, but I think, again, it's part of the competitors' mentality. They I guess because of the cyclical amount of people coming in and going out, I guess it just boils to the fact that they don't know about the challenge. Maybe because it hasn't been in Southern California for the last few years, because there hasn't been a place to go. It's strange to see that, because again, you got all these different programs all along the East Coast. You got many drivers flying out to the East Coast, teams driving out to the East Coast to do all these programs. And yet there's a program already on the western half of the country that's there to welcome them, and they choose not to go.
Yeah, 100% that. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Obviously, crossing our fingers, things go well, and the drivers who have support of the program, and those who want to run in Phoenix, or maybe those in Colorado, Utah, you name it, because obviously the Scuderia Littell had a whole bunch of drivers come down from Utah. Ideally, they'll hit that minimum mark of 60, and things will continue to push forward. So again, that's it, folks. If you're a Challenge of the Americas racer or are planning on heading to the Phoenix event on April 17th to 19th, get yourself entered ASAP with that $500 deposit. Dave, before the break, I talked about the fact that the FIA announcing more information on their impact data recorder. It has now become mandatory. Give us some information on that program.
Yeah, it's impact data recorder. It's a little device that basically you mount in front of the engine on the chassis. It's going to help assist in the development of safety advancements for future karting, including circuit layouts, barrier positioning, equipment innovation. Again, FIA has a big safety foundation and safety a lot of funding going through the safety aspect of motorsports in general. And they're looking at karting, again, trying to make it safe. They've obviously implemented this new anti-launch program and device that's working, going to be implemented in all FIA karting events. And we've already discussed that numerous times. But now they're doing this device to record data. Again, I look at it and I compare it to very similar to what cars have. Motorsports cars have all these devices that measure the impact. You talk about NASCAR and IndyCar, where they see a hard wreck and they come back a couple of days later and they talk about the information gathered by a device that measures the impact in terms of G load and all the different factors and different information you can gather from a racing incident. And this is no different. I don't understand the uproar that we have seen on social media, especially on our post about this, how this is going to negatively affect karting. Now, the only way I could see it negatively affect karting is if they come back and say, oh my God, we can't be racing karts anymore. Yeah. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry.
Now listen, my thing is, people are bitching, hey, we're going to have this, what's next? Seat belts, roll cages. Listen, that's a good comment for the rear wheel protectors, the new rear
anti-launch,
the anti-launch device. You can talk about that. That's a big step towards, again, making it ridiculously not safe. I don't want to say safe, but more protected, and you change the dynamic of what a race, the ideology of what a go-kart is. This is literally just a data. It's a data store. It's
a micron. It's a micron that doesn't display any information, but goes back and FIA will collect it. And Rob, one of the things, I even said it on our post, because one of them is a track owner. I'm like, don't you want to make your racetrack safer? Like, this is the type of information you want to learn. You want to be able to know, how far does my barriers have to be away from the racetrack, or how close do they need to be to the racetrack in order to make it safer, so it's less of an impact if a cart does go off into a barrier. Obviously, street racing, that's a different scenario. We can't talk about that, but it'd be fun to kind of to put these on at the Supernets and get some data that way. But again, it's basically a micron to read on information and to collect on it in a wreck, and to try and make racetracks safer. Not necessarily making the carts. I think the carts are safe. I mean, obviously, as we joke around, roll cages and seat belts, even then you're not making it safer. Like, again, you have another different type of danger element when you add that equipment change. But again, it's all about making things, the more data, I think, the better. I'm a math guy. I understand that. So that's why, because I look at it as a math view rather than a competitor view or a promoter view or a track owner view.
Again, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll get a lot of feedback from the people that are going to have to use it this year. So more info to come on that, folks. Off to another break here in this edition of This Week in Karting. When we come back, we're going to hammer you with some rapid fire headlines from the homepage of ekartingnews.com. 2026 is shaping up to be another historic season for Superkarts USA. Things kick off with the SKUSA Winter Series heading to the Lone Star State and the popular Speed Sports Racing Park. The opening event is slated for January 9th to the 11th, with the series finale set for the February 13th to 15th weekend at the New Caney, Texas facility. This year's SKUSA Pro Tour is primed to visit 3 different states from March to July. The 2026 SKUSA Pro Tour Winter Nationals will be held on March 27th to 29th at a location to be announced in the near future. The Spring Nationals is returning to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati in Batavia, Ohio, over the June 12th to 14th weekend. And lastly, to cap off the series for the 12th time, Newcastle Motorsports Park hosts the SKUSA Summer Nationals in late July. This year's SKUSA Pro Tour champions will be crowned over the July 24th to 26th weekend in Newcastle, Indiana. Regional action is set for 2026 with the flagship Pro Kart Challenge program hosting 5 race weekends at 3 spectacular facilities, including the new K1 circuit in Winchester and Spring Mountain Karting in Nevada, in a schedule highlighted by a return to Sonoma Raceway. The Texas Sprint Racing Series is offering 5 rounds of racing in 2026, visiting 4 challenging circuits from March to September. Growth continues for Superkarts USA in Mexico as well, with record numbers for the SCUSA Pro Tour Mexico and the Pro Kart Challenge Mexico Series. For information on all this and more, visit superkartsusa.com. History, success, family. Those are the three words that can describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation located just outside of Indianapolis has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, continually adding new parts to their product line. From full karting packages, new engines, spare or replacement parts, and safety gear, find it all at CometKartSales.com. Their Comet Racing Engine service has won multiple major events and championships over decades of karting and continues to offer the best trackside service in the industry, specializing in IAME X30, IAME Swift, and other 2-cycle power plants. Make sure to head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. Welcome back to This Week in Karting, episode number 94. Rob Howden alongside David Cole, March the 3rd, 2026. We're going to continue to give you all the news that worked its way to e-karting news on the homepage over the last number of weeks, a little over a month since our last show. David, new segment called Rapid Fire Headlines. Let's start banging it out, some of the stuff that we saw that came news-wise into your news desk.
Yeah, since it's been a while since we had a podcast or This Week in Karting, I decided to add a rapid fire section so we can get over some of the headlines that have happened since the middle of January. Of course, obviously the race report from the opening round of the Rock Cup USA Florida Winter Tour, including round 2 as well from February. So those are available online. And we'll get into round 3 this weekend as they head to the T4 Kartplex in Palmetto, Florida, in the outside of the Tampa area. So that going there for the first time. So that's going to be quite interesting. Champions of the Future America program, prizes valued at over $130,000. We talked about that as the presenting sponsor of the podcast we're doing here today. So that was obviously a big headline that hit prior to their opening round at the end of January. They just had round 2 this past weekend at the K1 circuit. They'll be going back into action next month there at K1 once again. Rob, a unique product line coming out as Burrell Art presents the Barrichello racing line. So Rubens Barrichello, former F1 driver, now has his own karting line.
Yeah, very cool to see that. Obviously, we know a number of current drivers, have their own models with other organizations like OTK and Burrell Art. But yeah, Rubens Barrichello, who continues to drive karts on a regular basis, gets one of his own, and I like that. Get the Barrichello on there. It's cool.
Yeah, it was actually used at the Rotax Grand Finals this year as well too. So he got to compete in the DD2 Masters category in his own kart at the Rotax Grand Finals. So quite a unique experience for him.
Over the years, there's been lots of different series in Colorado and around that area. A brand new program established for the Rocky Mountain region, David, the Alpine Racing Series. That announcement coming for a brand new program there, which is great to see. Colorado, as we know, at least over my 30 years, always had a lot of great racing and drivers coming out of the Rocky Mountain region.
Yeah, it's a new program essentially established by Colorado Karting Circuit at Centennial Airport. The competitors were looking for a different viewpoint and different avenue to do regional racing within the area. So that's something they helped launch with this Alpine Racing Series. So we'll be able to kind of follow that and get more information as that goes on this summer. Once I guess they do have snow now, right? That was kind of the big thing this winter.
That's it. David, obviously, big news as well. One of the foundational series in the Midwest, the Route 66 Sprint Series, entering a new era as they come into 2026.
Yeah, new ownership with Tim Coyne now piloting that program. They're adding on shifter categories this year, both senior and master. So that's new. And the program opens up at the end of April at Newcastle Motorsports Park. So they're ushering in a new era for sure. Rock Sonoma, a new category as they're going to add the KZ platform in the 2026 class structure. Obviously, that is kind of the focal point for Northern California is the Rock Sonoma program. They do essentially two different 3-race programs, one at the beginning of the spring and then one starting during the midpoint of the summer. So essentially they have 2 championships in each season, and they're adding the KZ platform engine. I got to think that's due to a lot of the competitors in the area looking and trying to get more seat time locally for that engine.
Yeah, indeed. David, also, we were kind of involved in this and the news coming out that the drivers that will be representing the United States at the FIA Karting Academy Trophy have been selected.
Yeah, Derek Wargo is going to represent USA in the senior category with Marco Samet in the junior division, as both drivers will be racing 3 times in Europe, different dates, different racetracks for both the senior and junior program, but they will be representing USA this year. We'll be getting with both of them prior to both their opening rounds, and we'll try and do some driver diaries throughout the season to, again, kind of give everybody kind of a insider view of what it's like to compete in Europe.
Yeah, and if you're planning on potentially getting your name in and trying to get selected for 2027, good idea to follow all that coverage, all those driver diaries, get a feel for what it's like to be going over to that event. Last but not least, in our rapid fire segment here before we go into our next break, David, Race Rotax, the RMC program here in the U.S., growing some more. They had their winter trophy. Now a brand new program, the Race Rotax RMC America's Trophy. A couple of events there, opening their registration as well.
Yeah, RMC America's Trophy is going to kick off here in 2 weeks. Man, it happens so fast.
It's crazy.
Tucson, Arizona, and the Musselman Honda Circuit. They will be running the first 2 rounds of this new championship program, which will be the core Rotax categories along with the junior and senior FZ shifter platforms. So we're going to see shifter racing and Rotax racing all in the same weekend when we get to Tucson, Arizona.
Love it. Off to another break. When we get back, we'll dive into a look at the original editorial, not just the news, but all the stuff that David was able to kick out here over the last 6 weeks. When we get back, EKN editorial time.
Are you a club racer looking for that next challenge or a driver searching for more racing? Look no further than the leading karting series in the Midwest. The Route 66 Sprint Series is focused on providing a fun family atmosphere while also offering a perfect stepping stone for those at a club level looking to take their racing to the next phase. With 11 different classes, the Route 66 Sprint Series has racing for all ages, utilizing IAME and Briggs & Stratton engines along with their new shifter categories for senior and master drivers. The 4-event Route 66 Sprint Series calendar has stopped at some of the Midwest's finest karting facilities. Kicking off the season in April will be the Newcastle Motorsports Park in Indiana before traveling to the recently repaved Norway Motorsports Park in Illinois this June. The month of July takes the program to Millwright Raceway, the home of the Badger Karting Club, before setting up for the series finale at the historic Road America facility and the Briggs & Stratton Motorplex in August. Whether you're trying to make the step up to regional racing or a seasoned pro of the sport, the Route 66 Sprint Series is right for you. For more information, go to Route66karting.com and find us on social media at Route 66 Sprint Series.
Parolin is among the winningest brands in the USA and around the world. The Parolin Le Mans full-size chassis for junior and senior classes and the Parolin Opportunity model for cadet divisions have earned success weekend after weekend at all the major championships and events in both the USA and throughout Europe. The Parolin chassis lineup also includes the Invader shifter, along with the Daytona 4-cycle chassis and the Delfino Kid Kart. Karters can head to the ParolinUSA.com website where the entire chassis line and parts are available to you, with shipping available all across North America. Parolin USA partners with several companies and race teams across the country to provide a strong dealer network to represent the brand locally and at the national level to support drivers throughout North America. Get on the chassis that's winning. Drive a Parolin. Welcome back to episode number 94 of This Week in Karting. Again, bringing all the news that's got its way to the EKN homepage. Get it into podcast format for you to listen to on your way to work, on your way home, in the garage, whatever it may be. Rob Howden here alongside David Cole. David, we pushed out a lot of content, not just the news that came in. We developed a lot of our own content as well. Let's get things rolling and kind of go back to the driver of the month for December. That, of course, was launched and announced in mid-January. So let's talk about driver of the month first.
Yeah, December 2025 was Tyler Coleshorn, the driver that won the Ignite senior category. I believe it was the second main event there in Daytona International Speedway for WK Kart Week down there. Great little story there, talking about a driver racing there for the first time in the Ignite program, going down there and beating a driver like Gavin Bailiff, who's won on the Pro Tour in all different programs as well. So great story there. Product spotlights, we hit a bunch of them. We got the Chuck G Fab Hub introducing the new quad stand. A lot of the race teams and even competitors that you see around the paddock having the carts on their vertical stands. It's a new one that holds 4 different carts, all in this compacted stand to be able to roll up into the trailer and be able to travel well without any damage to the carts or the trailer as well. So make sure you check that out.
Yeah, Dave, it's wild when we go through the paddock. I just want to throw this in there. When we go through the paddock, right at the end of a weekend on a Sunday night, you see everybody with the Chuck Chief stand, the quad stand comes out. They're loading them up, and then they wrap them right in the plastic wrap. Hold them in the trailer. I was talking to Brandon Jarsikrack about it. He's like, the amount of carts I can get safely and locked into my trailer now is unbelievable. So it's been a really good piece for Chuck Gaffera. Obviously, he's been around the sport himself as a racer, and then with Caleb as well. So he knows what the people were looking for.
Yeah, especially for those without a stacker trailer, because with those with the normal racing style trailer, this is exactly what you need to be able to get in as many carts as possible. 100%. Products, and speaking of mounting a cart for travel, if you don't have a trailer, go with the Cart Lift hitch mount cart stand carrier.
I love it.
You put the cart in the back of the pickup. Well, you got no room to put the cart stand, the rolling cart stand. Well, you put it on the hitch mount and you travel that way. So it's kind of like that exterior mount for your suitcases. This is an exterior mount for your cart stand. So it's perfect for a driver or people with, you don't even have to have a pickup. You could maybe just have your cart stand. Yeah. You got a V-dub Beetle or whatever with a trailer hitch. You put this thing on, you can take your cart stand wherever.
You got the cart on top and the stand in the back.
There you go. Exactly. That's what we need.
And whoever does that this year, send us a picture.
We need a photo of that because that would be awesome. It doesn't have to be like a Bug or Beetle or any kind of car you have. That would be pretty awesome to see. So
yeah, when I was talking to them about that, when we were putting that together, I would love to have had this because back when I was just doing my local stuff here, even recently within the last 5-10 years, I just throw my cart in the back of my pickup, and then you're trying to put your cart stand in there as well so it doesn't fall over or get in the way. That hitch mount would have been ideal. So I think we'll see a lot of people using that in 2026.
Yeah, because if you got the standard old school one that doesn't have wheels, you just slide it under the cart. Well, the ones with wheels, to be able to manage some of the paddocks we have in the sport, you got to have the big wheels, and that just doesn't work underneath the cart for sure.
100%, yeah.
And also Odenthal Racing Products, they have the Super Spider 2 Sprocket Hub, Code Red Edition. This is a new product they've developed. It's essentially the sprocket hub along with the protectors. What am I thinking of?
Yeah, chain guards or whatever.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the chain guards, but the sprocket protectors to keep them from grinding away or getting your chain hit on a curb or a bump or whatever. So it's complete package. It's amazing what they've been able to do. Again, they're trying to make it as light as possible, but also as strong as possible. Because again, anything with Odenthal, it's about quality. So yeah, make sure you check that out.
And they just keep knocking out awesome stuff.
Well, that's what happens when you're diehard karters and you just love the sport. You want to just make every product possible to again put people on the top of the podium. So
I put together, David, an article as well on Formula Works. One of the, if not the top, one of the top teams in California right now. Tony Saraguso's program, obviously working with GFC, put a lot of karts on the racetrack. They got an ambitious schedule for 2026 planned, all part of the GFC kind of program where he's got, they got the GFC factory team. Then you got these kind of works factory supported teams, Formula Works, Ryan Norberg Karting Academy, Scuderia Littell. There's these different programs around the country that work closely with Gary at GFC, and obviously getting things underway with Formula Works as they've started their season off super early.
Yeah, I think we had GFC leading the way at the challenge weekend with 6 or 7 wins.
Yeah.
So yeah, part of that was Formula Works and obviously Scuderia Littell. So
Some race reports as well, David. Obviously, you've been trackside at a number of karting events already. The challenge was my first. You were there at the RMC Winter Trophy opening weekend at Speed Sports.
we got a race report for the opening weekend, and then we had trackside coverage for the second weekend. We weren't able to go back to back, so we were at the second Speed Sports weekend. So again, make sure you check that out. We were also, of course, trackside for the 2026 Supercards USA Winter Series finale, which was also at Speed Sports. So we got 3 trips to Houston to start off the year for myself.
One of the things we're going to be doing again throughout the season here, and they're really good, easy pieces to read on the website, is our Fast Five, where we essentially grab one of the guys from the sport, one of the players in the industry or in the community, give them 5 quick questions to kind of get a chance to chat with them a little bit. Andy Saisman stepped up and was one of the guys we spoke with. So talking about the challenge of the Americas in the new season, obviously Andy dealing with some issues here now with entry, as we talked about, but we talked to Andy. We got a couple more. David, I know you got a couple more in the works as well, right?
Yeah, we got one. We're going to start with Tim Coyne, Route 66 Sprint Series, to kind of preview and get kind of his insights prior, just about a month before they launch the 2026 season. I think I'm going to try and track down Gary Carlton as well, and we'll have a few more throughout the year. Obviously, it's a little bit easier to do articles. We want to try and get more podcasts in there as well, too. We'll try and do more hot seats throughout the year as well, once kind of things maybe die down. I don't know.
When is that going to happen? No, I love your hot seats when you get a chance to talk to guys trackside. It's really cool. Those are awesome. I saw online Cameron Reed had posted something about a program that she had won, an entrepreneurship at her university. And I'm like, okay, we need to tell this story. So I got a hold of Cameron. We talked back and forth. She essentially got this new funding for growth of their program, Reed Motorsports in Texas. They started with a couple of carts in early 25, late 24. They had like 20 drivers under their tent for the final round of the Texas Sprint Racing Series. So she put this presentation together as this entrepreneur program, came away with this scholarship, $10,000 scholarship that she to be able to pour back in, get another tent for her team. Just great to see this program rolling for Cameron and to see it grow. Just I love seeing it. A lot of talk about women in motorsports, and Cameron is a badass for sure, and she was right on top of it. And I just thought it was such a great story, and I wanted to share it with everybody in EKN Nation.
Well, yeah, and not to mention they're a small little carts to cars program. She does a lot of car racing as well. So again, different regions, you need people like this, because she's helping to spur the growth of karting in that region with her own race team and bringing new people into the sport. That's what you need in order. You can't just have a racetrack. You got to have people involved with it to either sell product or bring people to the racetrack. And that's exactly what Reed Motorsports is doing down there in Louisiana. It's amazing story. She is definitely an entrepreneur. She's trying to dabble in everything and anything, including social media, broadcasting, and announcing and interviewing. So yes, this is not the last you'll hear of Cameron Reed.
No, and you mentioned it. She's building a spec Miata. Her and her dad are building a spec Miata. They took an old Miata, building a spec Miata that they're going to get to the racetrack, and eventually that's going to be part of their Carts to Cars program as well. So yeah, lots of great stuff from Cameron Reed. And that was a great story. We got lots of feedback on that as well. David, you mentioned the December driver of the month. We also, since the last show, announced the January driver of the month. You're working on the article now for the February driver of the month as well as we get into March. But let's talk a little bit about the January driver of the month, Jack Katowski.
Yeah, Jack Katowski was phenomenal in January. Did it again nearly in February as well. But Katowski winning at Florida Winter Tour, SCUSA Winter Series. Basically should have won and did win provisional races at the Rotax race, but wasn't credited with any of the wins. But still an amazing month, as the now 9-year-old is pretty much the kind of the leader of the pack in micro right now. But again, like we talk about micro division, a lot of drivers coming up and probably be there once we get midway through the season.
Yeah, David was trackside at the SuperCarts USA Winter Series events as well. So full trackside coverage there for the second race at Speed Sport. That's still all available to have a look at on the website as well. And another article, David, you put together is because we're seeing a lot of this happen right now. Is this T4 series, the Tilton program, T4 Series USA? They're making a big impact here in 2026, and you filed a report there, kind of filling people in on everything that's going on with T4.
Yeah, a little bit of an introduction, let people know what the program is, the carts they have, obviously senior, junior, master, and or mini and Bambino, which is their kid kart program. But a lot of different programs are going to be hosting races this year. And they also have a T4 America's Cup, which is going to go coming up here in March at the T4 Kartplex in Florida, and then travel to Mexico. So it's a international program with the T4 America's Cup. You got the T4 Eastern Series. You got other events happening throughout the year. Other programs like Texas Sprint Racing Series now introducing the T4 category to their program. T4 already has kind of a California establishment, so they've been there in Florida, but there's definitely branching out throughout the U.S.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, folks, there you go. All the editorial that we were able to crank out at the EKN News Desk. Time for another break, our last one of the show here. When we get back, we will talk about what's coming up on ekartingnews.com. Ready to step up your game? Joining the Rawlison Performance Group is the obvious choice to take your racing to the next level. Industry-leading driver development is provided by our staff of multi-time national champions, Super Nationals winners, and Team USA members. And at the same time, RPG continues to be a national-level powerhouse race team. Our goal is to help you raise your game and win races. We work with all age groups and are focused on developing those cadet and junior drivers who are ready to take the next step in their racing program. Rawlison Performance Group has set a new standard with our in-house engine program, AVP Engines, headed by Alex Vincent. AVP has become the benchmark in IAME competition. We have the largest OTK inventory that follows our race team, providing trackside parts at all the major events in North America. RPG also offers multilingual support with French, Spanish, and Portuguese-speaking staff. If you want to fight for championships or want to improve your skills and your chances to win, the answer is to call RPG at 503-260-4514. The Rawlison Performance Group. We race to win. From Florida to California to Las Vegas, it's time to rock. The 2026 season for the Rockers begins in the Sunshine State as Rock Cup USA hosts the 28th edition of the Florida Winter Tour. The championship is underway, having welcomed competitors to the Orlando Kart Center over the January 16th to 18th weekends for round one of the title chase. Rockers return to the Orlando, Florida facility for round two of the championship on the February 6th to 8th weekend. After that, for the first time in series history, the Florida Winter Tour will travel to the T4 Kartplex facility in Palmetto, Florida on the March 6th to 8th weekend for the season finale. Looking ahead, mark down the year-end celebration with the annual Rock Vegas event, set for October 28th to November 1st at the Rio All Suite Hotel and Casino. Rock Sonoma returns in 2026 with its two championship format. Take part in the Triple Crown 1 program from March to May, with the second Triple Crown Championship competing from June to September. There'll be different track layouts, Rock Vegas tickets, and much more available at Rock Sonoma. Visit rockcupusa.com for all the details and information surrounding the Florida Winter Tour, Rock Vegas, Rock Sonoma, and much more. Welcome back to the final segment of this edition of This Week in Karting, episode number 94, March the 3rd. Rob Howden alongside David Cole. David, as you know, everybody knows our podcast's all available through iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube as well. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can subscribe to the EKN Radio Network at all of our podcasts. You can download the EKN Radio Network app to your mobile device. It's 24/7, streaming all a podcast. David goes back and gets old broadcasts from racing events. Love listening to those older races. But again, the only karting radio station in the world, 24/7. You can also go to on the website as well at ekartingnews.com/radio. All right, David, where are we going? We got lots going on over the next month.
We do. We'll be at the Tucson, Arizona at the Musselman Honda Circuit, March 20th through the 22nd for the RMC America's Trophy, as we just talked about previously. And then the week after we'll both be there for the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour Winter Nationals, the 17th season of the program.
Yeah, look for coverage as well coming from the launching of the United States Pro Kart Series for 2026. They'll start things off at the Carolina Grand Prix at Trackhouse Motorplex. And after that, as we mentioned before, provided we get the entries, the series gets the entries, April 17th to 19th, the Challenge of the Americas at Phoenix Kart Racing Association. David, lots of racing going on for sure. We'll be trackside to cover a bunch of the events. And you want to throw in anything quickly of stuff that you're potentially working on to see on EKN?
Lots of different articles.
Yeah,
there's probably 5 or 6 that I'm working on. So, but yeah, we won't be trackside for USPKS, unfortunately, schedule conflicts with that. But we'll try and do some post-race coverage of that for sure. Maybe a special hot seat or something like that. But other than that, yeah, follow us on social media. And again, got a couple months or a couple weeks away from the racetrack, karting track, but before we back in Musselman Honda Circuit.
Yeah, looking forward to getting out to the SCUSA Winter Nationals. I'll be there for all 3 of the Pro Tour races this year. It's had a lot of conflicts over the last number of years, but I'll do the full SCUSA Pro Tour here in 26. Looking forward to getting back with the guys from Kart Chaser. But again, big thank you to everybody for tuning in, folks. That wraps up this show. On behalf of David Cole, my name is Rob Howden. Bye for now.